Welcome back to the Gfinity Champion of Champions. My name is Lycan. Joining me on the desk is Richard Lewis and Thorin. Guys, Thorin, this game was pretty crazy. First of all, NiP had an incredible lead, right?
Yeah, insurmountable almost.
Yeah, then Olafmeister kind of woke up and was like, we're not going out like this. So he brought it back. The game was tied and then went into overtime. What are your thoughts overall on the performance of NiP in this case?
Yeah, obviously, it was literally insurmountable as much as they couldn't have lost the game. They were up 15-4 at one point in time. They looked like, okay, you don't even have to be an incredible T-side team probably to close that game out there. But you saw in the map before Mirage, if Fnatic get like a key CT round at the right time, they can just snowball a whole CT half. And they get that momentum going. It builds up, it builds up, builds up. And the biggest problem for the guys from NiP is they just started doing what is I think it's the cardinal sin on T-side of Inferno, which is where when you can't get entries to a site, you just go slower and slower, and you just start, everyone's walking up. You're never attacking a site. You're never rushing in with a flash and going just before it or just after it. Instead, you're just walking in. And when you do that, really good CT teams like this are just going to eat you alive, because as soon as they get one kill, they're going to rotate over, get the advantage there. And yeah, as you said, like it was basically the Olafmeister and Flusher show. Those were the two guys. I mean, what summed it up for me was there was actually a moment where NiP, towards the end of the half, had, I think it was a 3v2, and they had the bomb planted as terrorists. But because it was Olafmeister and Crims, who have that fantastic synergy with how they play off each other, they actually won without either of them dying. And they did just a full retake. And that really just summed up how good Fnatic was overall. But with that said, they got it to overtime. But in overtime, it was all NiP. They were very good there.
I mean, well, if you wanted to get an idea about why we talk about Olafmeister as the best player in the world, here's why. Because it's halftime, he's got like 7 kills on the board or something ridiculous. Looks out of the game. All the armchair analysts at home are like, ha, Olafmeister is bad now. You know, like all of this stuff. And then boom, he picks up the AWP, which isn't something that he does primarily. It's not like his bread and butter, so to speak. And he just starts picking up impact kills, starts snowball, helping his team really get back into the game, and then he just goes absolutely ham with it and finishes right up at the top of the frag charts from coming back at like absolute rock bottom. And that's why he's the best. That isn't even what he does for a living. That isn't even what he does in terms of what he brings to the team. He's not like a designated AWPer in any way, shape or form. You leave that to JW, but he picked up that AWP and he made it work on the map. Now, all of that said, I don't want to focus too much on Fnatic, because obviously what NiP did, I think maybe Duncan's playing it down a little bit, because it did look like they were going to choke. But what NiP have done there is they've beaten Fnatic, probably, if we just look at it in pure statistical terms, the best team in the world on Inferno. And sure, they had to take it to overtime after having a 14-4 lead, but they still did it. I didn't give him a prayer on that. Duncan didn't give him a prayer on that. And it's also got to be said, what's really remarkable about it is how, again, I hate to keep harping on about it, but how ineffective Freiburg was. There's an argument there to do it. At times, they were almost playing 4v5, and they still managed to overcome Fnatic, the best team in the world. So you've got to give mad props to what NiP have done here. Now, you're going into train. This is a map that realistically can go either way. This is one of the ones that definitely can go either way. They've played before, as we said, at DreamHack Summer on home turf in Sweden. It was 16-14. And there was a godlike call by Pronax right at the end where he just read a complete fake to basically win that game. So that's how close it was when they last played on this map. NiP have already gone way above expectations. We looked at it statistically. All of their the last 4 times they played in a series, it was 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-1 at Katowice. So they've already took 2 maps off Fnatic in this best of 5. Me and Duncan didn't think they could do that. Anything can happen on train, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if they could get to a 5th map, they'd actually have a shot to win the series. Like, it wasn't a scenario where they were ever going to win 3-1. That was even the most exuberant NiP fan surely didn't think that was possible. I mean, what was key for me there was that this time NiP actually won on a Fnatic map pick.
Yeah.
Before, they won their own barely, and then, okay, they lost theirs barely on Mirage, but at the moment, you're still playing in Fnatic's hands. They've still got theirs coming up. They know, okay, we're getting our maps, and we're having chances on yours. Now NiP's actually pushed it to 5, but doing it on Fnatic's maps. I think that's actually pretty key. And so when it goes into train, the problem with the train situation is a lot of NiP's best map performances on the map haven't really been wins. They've been like close losses. And you always look at close losses and you want to feel like, wow, you're so close. You're always in the game. You're always so close there. But I always usually say if you're repeatedly losing close on a map, it's actually showing you've got a key problem there. For some reason you can't close the map out, or one of your halves isn't quite good enough, and so no matter how much you get out of the other one, it evens out overall. So yeah, I'm still edging it towards Fnatic here, but I think now, amazingly, now we're in a position where there's actually a chance NiP can win this series.
Yeah, and it's got to be said as well, you take the Cobble map out of this equation, I think we're looking at one of the great, this is a great series. This is like, all the games have been super close, super competitive, which realistically, again, even the most biased NiP fan, I don't think would have put them in this position, would have thought they're going to be in this position. It's 2-all, you're going into train, anything can happen. You know, this is a huge performance from NiP.
I agree. I think that regardless of the results of the next match, the performance we've seen from NiP today, they've got to be feeling good. The fans have to be feeling good, and NiP has to be feeling good because it shows them coming out of whatever the slump is that they have been in. One thing I want to do, I want to kind of sidetrack a little bit, not necessarily talk about this matchup, but more something we've seen. There have been a lot of Zeus buys. Recently, there was a buff to the Zeus price reduction. So we see a lot of eco rounds where they go with the Zeus. Can you kind of talk about how that's playing into the game?
Well, I mean, look, all due respect to our casters, which made several references to how it's like a bit of banter or a bit of fun or whatever, the Zeus is now a viable buy in the current meta. It's like $100. You're playing on a map like Inferno, for example. There's so many tight corners up close. You know, you think about bedroom and apartments in general. $100 for a one-shot, one-kill weapon. That's great. You are going to see it play into the meta more and more and more people are going to be picking them up. I think it's a very viable buy in the pistol rounds now, especially when you're in an eco position. You want to try and save as much money as possible. You're going up against full buys. You can maybe, pop the Zeus, get a gun. It can turn around on its head for $100. That's ridiculous value for money.
Yeah, the big problem is the fact that it's a kill. It's not like there's any skill. You don't have to hit them in a specific path. It's just a kill. So yeah, you do have to be point blank, but obviously on certain maps as CT, you can choose the range it takes players at. Like if you're sitting on the balcony as a CT waiting for them to come out, okay, yeah, in theory they could come from another area, but most of the time, a large percentage, they're going to come out of there, and it's basically at that point, what's the counterplay to that? If you hit into quite a large area, you're going to get the kill, and it is only $100, whereas none of the pistols, in theory, you're going to be like, you're going to have to shoot them specifically in the head, or you're going to have to use technique, or, I mean, admittedly, you can't miss, obviously. It has to be the first shot, but I think it's kind of a scenario where what I don't like about it, crucially, is the lack of counterplay. That's the key thing. It's not just that, like, there are a lot of conditions within it that make it hard to get the kill, because, like I said, you've only got one shot, you have to hit them immediately, close range, all these things. But the biggest problem is it's the fact that what can the other guy do against what you're doing there? There's not really much there. So, I mean, you saw it in this game. Forrest had a couple of them on CT on Inferno. Yeah. I think the fact that you're seeing it so much, it just feels a bit abusive right now for the games. It doesn't really feel like good even when someone does it themselves. It just feels like they're trolling you now.
Yeah, I think what'll end up happening is this is like one of those instances where right now, because it's not really being utilized quite so much, everyone's like, oh, look, it's a Zeus buy. Oh, look, it's $100. It makes sense. I think it'll get to the stage where it does play into the meta, and this will probably be something, I don't know, like a month or two down the road, people are crying about, oh, we're going to nerf this, put the price up
someone like MBK wins one key round because he gets this one kill, someone's going to kill three people. That's when that's like the sort of thing that'll galvanize people to be like, right, they'll go crazy. I mean, I always make jokes, okay, when there's ridiculous stuff like that in the game that really isn't in the spirit of Counter-Strike, I always make jokes, okay. So, for example, I had one, I was telling Henry G, I was telling him, what they should do now is make it so that when the next upgrade to the Zeus is you buy a Zeus and you can attach it to your rifle, and then when you right-click, it actually is sort of like a bayonet, and when you're up close, you get the kill. Problem is, I'm always scared to even make those jokes on Twitter in case Valve actually do implement that. So.
I think you're safe. I don't think you need to worry about that quite just yet.
Because Valve don't listen to the community. Yeah, you're right, Bish. Bang on. You're always telling me that.
I didn't say that.
You hate working majors,
I love Valve. You know that. I'm the biggest fanboy. But anyway, so I think the situation we're in right now is, it's one of those things. I think it's freshened up the meta a little bit. I do like seeing it being utilized, and I agree with Thorin. I don't think there's a lot of counterplay yet, but this is what we need to do. Metas evolve. Things can change, and a few tweaks to that gun, who knows? It could be a regular staple. Certainly for now, it's absolutely worth picking up on certain maps, Inferno being one of them.
Yep. All right, so we're going to be going into the final game. The final match is going to be on Train. So talk us through Train, Richard.
Yeah, okay, so, I mean, this is obviously a map that when it was introduced originally, it looked very different to what we've got now. In fact, it was introduced originally, it didn't really take off as a competitive map, and then they did this reimagination of it, which is a lot better. So, I always think the key to this is when you're playing as terrorists, you've always got that option to do that kind of fast B execute. You go through what they call white walls. It used to be like a toilet area in previous iterations of the map, and it can be very easy to get a couple of smokes down and get a fast plant, but it can be quite a hard site to hold because you've got these long train tracks where you can AWP and rifle from. Other parts of the map, you've got what they call Ivy or Side, depending on which version of Counter-Strike you played. And this is another choke point that can be held by the CTs with an AWP, with a passive rifler, and again, smoke's very, very effective on this map. The key to this map used to be controlling main. If you could do like a fast flash out of main and get out aggressively and control that yard area, but that isn't really as viable in the CSGO version of the map. So this is something that has been newly introduced. Some teams have embraced it. Some teams have tried to shy away from it. You know, you think about like Virtus.pro and Na'Vi, they were straight on this map. They wanted to dominate. You know, they wanted to dominate teams on this map. Others were like, we're just going to make it our veto. Like, we're just going to get rid of it. So this is a map that I would say it maybe plays to the strengths of someone like a JW. I think it's great for Flusher, the terrain. It's so good for lurkers. But again, that means obviously then it plays to Arlu's strengths. It plays to Get Right's strength. I think this will be a very close map. I mean, inherently, the scorelines on this map always seem to be pretty close. It's always a map that people are going to post numbers on. I can't really think of any big blowouts I've ever seen on Train.
Well, the key thing for this particular matchup especially is what makes it so uncertain is that neither team, in theory, plays it much. Like, it's actually the least played map for Fnatic entirely out of all 7. And in terms of NiP, it's... I think it's like the third from least that they played because they so heavily play a few maps. So neither team really has, like, even the big data set on it. And neither of them have even played 10 times. Fnatic's played 9 and they've won 6. And NiP's played 7 and they've won 3, so it's kind of hard to have any real consistent idea that this team's definitely going to be good and in this way. I think this is the most 50-50 of all the maps in the pool because the other ones, even when Fnatic had an advantage on something, I thought they had advantage on Dust 2, we still at least had a history of NiP winning some key Dust 2 games and how they might go about doing that. I think the big trend for me on this one is, as I've already referenced before, that great performance where Olaf Meister went 39 kills on this when they played against NiP at DreamHack Valencia and Face It Stage 2 in the group stage. I think that what that really highlighted is this is another map where sometimes Fnatic can struggle a little bit on the T side. So they're used to getting the big CT half, 9-10 rounds. So for me, T side, everything relies on Olaf Meister. This is one of the few maps where suddenly he becomes like actually an entry fragger.
Yeah.
Some other maps, he can be a lurker, he can do it. That's what's great about him, he can do whatever you want. But on this map, when they struggle for T rounds, they literally put it all on Olaf Meister. Like, okay, you walk out into the main area, get a kill, and we follow you in then at that point in time.
So that's literally what he does. He'll walk out there and get 3 headshots. Just quickly, because I know we need to get into the game, just also wanted to say that NiP, when we saw them play Virtus.pro at the Major on this map, I mean, it was, it wasn't convincing at all. So, and Virtus.pro are one of the best teams, in the world on this map. But I haven't seen anything that would make me think NiP have got an ace up their sleeve here. So this is going to be wide open. On skill, you probably have to just give it to Fnatic. But as I said, anything can happen at this point.
All right, real quick before we go, score predictions.
I mean, obviously, again, this is a very specifically, like, if they start CT, you can get a huge snowball. Okay, let's imagine Fnatic start CT. I would say they'll win this pretty handedly, so I'll say like 16-8 Fnatic.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot closer than that. I think this could be a 16-13, 16-14 again, but I will just plumb for Fnatic.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And once again, we're going to the last match between Fnatic and NiP. It's tied 2-2. The winner of this moves on to the grand finals tomorrow. So take it away, boys.
Thank you very much indeed, guys, behind the Gfinity analyst desk. Of course, myself, Chewy. Joined alongside me is Kyanite here for map number 5, the final one between NiP and Fnatic. And let's just recap things very quickly, of course. There's a lot on the line for this, but score-wise, we saw a 19-16 first scoreline on Dust 2 in favor of NiP, then a 16-1 on Cobble, which we'll forget quite quickly, I'm sure. And then it was 16-13, I believe, in favor of Fnatic on Mirage, and then a 19-17 on Inferno. So it really has been a thriller of a series so far. But Train, what do you think about the map?
I think Fnatic will win, but then again, I predicted that Fnatic would win 3-1. Realistically speaking, I really like this new iteration of it. I was gutted when they initially removed it from the map pool because it's such a legendary map. Like, we think back to I believe it was Wally versus Pentagram, I think it was.
Okay.
But yeah, such a legendary map, and it's so nice that they brought it back into the map pool again. But prediction-wise, I don't know. I'm going to put my neck on the line and guess that Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to take this. Fnatic are going to take this 16-11. And the main reason why I give NiP 11 rounds is because at ESL 1 Cologne, they looked really good on this map against Virtus Pro.
Well, we will see. Here we go into the 9th round, almost live and ready to go with this 5th and final map, and we cannot underestimate how much is on the line, just in terms of pride and also prize pool as well. Of course, the winner of this guarantees at least $30,000 in the bank. The winner of the entire tournament with 50K, and just for competing at the tournament, you do get 10K, and it would be a big upset if NiP were able to take this series. And you never quite know what can happen, but kind of obviously a map like Train here, the guys on the analyst desk went through the kind of key areas of this map, but just simply starting CT side, I think, is going to be quite an important factor potentially here.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to give us a prediction, no, you don't like them.
No, it's difficult one. And again, like going down to specific score rounds is a really tricky one indeed. I'm going to say, I think Fnatic is still going to be able to take this one in all honesty. I'm going to go for a 16-10.
16-10, okay, Here we go. Fnatic win the 9th round, and they are going to start on the more favoured CT side for the first half. And I think Thorin hit the nail on the head when he said on the CT side on this map, you really can build up a lot of momentum, and the snowball effect can come into play. So Fnatic are one of those sides who definitely, on an individual and team level, they have the quality to make that happen up against an NiP who are rumoured to be in turmoil. Let's see whether they can do it.
Well, will they cause the upset, or will Fnatic just about regain composure to finish off this best of 5? I think a lot of us here at the Gfinity Arena area think that it was just going to be a 3-1 scoreline to Fnatic, but obviously we land ourselves in map number 5 with it all to play for both teams.
Yeah, bomb's been left pretty much near spawn. NiP, they've got some men in the white halls, some men outside a side hall. It's going to be Pronax's grenade to start things off with the frag onto Freiburg. Exist is going to drop down in towards the ladder room. That bomb is still yet to be picked up. NiP, they don't want to go back and pick up the bomb until they've at least found an opener somewhere.
With Get Right very low indeed as well. That's going to play a factor into this one. Alu will fall, as does Exist as well. This is looking really good for Fnatic here. Get Right still very low indeed. Now eventually he will fall, but it's all left up to Forest. 5 versus 1. We know what damage he can do with a pistol, but it's a clean sweep for Fnatic. Great work indeed on that pistol round, and that will be the first on the board for them. Let's see what they decide to buy up here, what exact weaponry they do decide to go for.
Yeah, well, they've bought quite a few rifles here. Remember what happened on Mirage, where they started off on the terrorist side, they won the pistol, then they bought up the AK-47s and ended up losing them. Let's hope we don't see a repeat of that. I think Train is a completely different kettle of fish, so hopefully as long as they keep their distance, play passive with these M4s, they should be fine. Meanwhile, NiP, they bought up armor because they failed to plant the bomb on the pistol.
They failed to do anything on that pistol round, and Freiburg starts off tagged heavily low, down to 31 points of health, and as you say, they forced up in the sense that just buying those armor and upgraded pistols in this round number 2, but still no frags as of yet. Fnatic just trying to engage in those long range battles here and not let those pistols get too close up front. Meanwhile, Get Right's been able to push through the T main kind of area and slightly push out on towards this A bomb site, but still not been able to find a player as of yet.
Oh, I think Get Right just got spotted by JW, but JW's been brought down to 47 points of health as NiP look to at least try and brute force a bomb plant towards either of these 2 bomb sites, but it's so difficult with just pistols in Train. It's one of those maps that includes so many long distance encounters that it's very difficult to be effective with the pistols.
And they've just been overpowered here. They've been able to pick up 2 frags, but it wasn't quite enough. I believe both of them were Get Rights, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. So Forest finds himself once again the last one left alive, just looking to do some damage, but with the Deagle, I don't think he'll be able to do too much. Tagged down to 14 points of health. Flusher will eventually finish him off there, and that's 2-0 in favour of Fnatic here. Ninjas in Pyjamas again, as we've said, because they were not able to plant in that first round, and they did buy up there in some respects in that second round. They will be on pretty much a flat, full eco going into round number 3.
Flusher only 5'7". He's got a Molotov though, and the fact that he's got armor as well up against these unarmored opponents, I'm pretty sure, yet most of them have P250s, bar Alu should still see Fnatic end up being the victors. Flusher, the second he sees these NiP players down, will go the Molotov to try and burn them alive, slow them down, and that's exactly what it's done.
Still that man advantage in favour of the counter-terrorist side of Fnatic, and they're just going to get another smoke grenade down there to prevent any players pushing through. And we can see JW now, the man on your screen, just using the side of that smoke to his advantage. He is going to spot Alu there. Will he be able to find any more players? Because there are two more lurking in towards that pop dog area. Elsewhere, Get Right has been spotted and tagged low. There we go. Now JW finds them, sprays down, and that will be the hat trick for him. So a good clean sweep here once again. And only 2 deaths on the Fnatic side so far in this entire first 3 rounds, which means, of course, their economy is going to be in pretty good stead right now.
Yeah, but JW getting 4 frags in that last round, it's given him more than enough money to buy up his favoured AWP. Alu has gone for 1 as well. So the previous older iteration of this map, we used to see a lot of AWP battles underneath the trains from the normal main area. Now, obviously, main has been moved to the side a little bit, so it's not exactly the same, but we still do see a lot of sniper rifles utilised because this map has so many long-distance battles inside of it. Freiburg gets the opener onto Pronax. Olaf returns it, but Get Right and Exist elsewhere on the map are going big, and Fnatic are finally starting to drop an NiP. Could this be the round that they get their first terrorist round on the board with?
Yeah, apologies, didn't manage to catch many of the frags, but all the same, Ninjas in Pyjamas push their way through, and JW and Flusher now the last 2 left alive here. We can see that's Exist, I do believe, not very low on HP indeed, but they've not got too much time to play with. They have got defused kits, but I don't believe Fnatic are going to be going for this one. We can see that Ninjas in Pyjamas are now starting to spread out across the map, trying to look if they can take any rifles away here. We even see Freiburg pushing all the way into CT spawn, but that's the first round on the board there for NiP, and an important one as well. You know, against a team like Fnatic, and we know how Fnatic can play on that momentum, you certainly do not want them to start to run away with things early on in the game.
Yeah, I think Fnatic need to try and adapt more of a Virtus Plow way of playing their CT side. So, for example, utilise the rifles, get up close and personal towards that side main area. Don't give NiP any breathing space. Even go aggressive towards upper and lower over on the B bomb site to get information and choke your opponents if you need to. Do not allow NiP to execute and utilise, for example, the window near White Halls that allows you to smoke off the outer bomb site.
So let's see how round number 5 plays out here. Once again, just a slow start. We've only got 1 player, actually, which will be Flusher over towards that B bomb site. And this is the thing with a map like Train. You can just play that dynamic CT setup with such quick rotations in area like that connector spot. This Get Right will be the first casualty of this 5th round here. Olaf Meister with his 2nd kill there as he takes down Freiburg. This has certainly been a very good start indeed for himself and that Fnatic team. Are they going to find one? Alu actually gets caught out. Olaf Meister already with a hat-trick in this one, and Kana, he is just single-handedly shutting them down.
Yeah, very good use of grenades coming out from Fnatic. And now Forest all alone. He's going to nail Olaf in the head. I think he's seen a glimpse of Crims to his left. I'm not entirely sure, but these Fnatic boys are slowly but surely creeping in on him. And Chewy's decided to pull out, and he's going to fall back to plan B. No, he's picking up the bomb. He's going to continue to go towards side main, where he will meet resistance.
Crims pushing through now, and Forest will get caught unawares there. So again, Fnatic just regaining that 3-round lead now. 4-1 will be the scoreline here, and the money for Ninjas in Pyjamas is not in good stead whatsoever. We can see after winning that round in round number 5 and then losing this one, they've really struck down on their economy. So we'll see what they decide to force up and buy going into round number 6 here. But this is already a good, strong, solid opening few rounds from Fnatic, I have to say.
Yeah, but it was good from Fnatic that previous round. The nades went in, prevented NiP from being able to push out that side main area. Even the players who tried to escape ladder room, and then the Fnatic players just got up close and personal. Literally, NiP were just left with no breathing space to execute anywhere. Forest returns, or trades a kill rather, onto Pronax towards side alley. And NiP, we've seen them do this quite a bit. They force up after losing a round to try and apply pressure on their opponent's economy, but Exist and Forest are going to have to really step it up here.
Yeah, we've actually not seen NiP so far in these first 5.5 rounds actually head over towards that B bomb site. It's really not played a part whatsoever. So it will be interesting to see if they decide to switch over there and try and get that bomb down over towards B at some point. They're getting shut out. Get Right just on the edge That incendiary grenade comes through, but Crims will find Forest there. That's one player with a rifle down. Exist now the only player on this T side with a rifle in hand. And of course, if NiP lose this one, their economy is going to be in an even worse situation. The AK-47 will fall as Alu does try to respond, but this is still very, very difficult indeed. Alu does a great amount of damage though. 2 kills with the Tech 9. He's got another one here. This is a 3 versus 1 clutch almost. You've got to think if he can pull off this final kill. JW, and this is the thing now, JW's got the CZ, but he's left very low as well, 30 points of health.
JW's going to peek out, pull the trigger, and assassinate Alu. And there we have it, yet another Fnatic round on the board. NiP, they invested, the investment it's not paid dividends, and surely now they're going to be forced onto a pretty harsh eco. I'd be surprised even if we see the odd P250 come out, it could be an all Glock setup. Freiburg and Exist, the only 2 going for P250s, they had a bit of extra cash.
They've got to go for a bomb plant here, really, at the very most. But the interesting thing is that they've actually seemed to have forgotten the bomb. So Alu and Forest just double-checking it there, and they will pick that up and make their way through towards that white tunnels area of the map. Now, Flusher playing very close indeed, just shoulder peeking it time and time again to see if he can spot anybody, and that's exactly what he does. So he smokes out, actually flashes out, I believe, I apologize, over towards that lower ramp area as he backs away from the situation. Now gets that smoke grenade down just to try and prevent any pushes coming in from NiP, but it looks like they're banking their favors by Warder falling onto the B-bomb site from the upper area. Only able to pick up 1 frag though. They still got to try and get this bomb down.
Yeah, the important thing for them is to get this bomb down, get that extra bit of cash once they lose this round, which they most likely will, unless Get Right can go massive. He's going to get the double, but he found himself surrounded in the end. Just wasn't meant to be. And I still feel NiP did very well to drop 3 out of 5 Fnatic players there regardless, as well as the fact that they got the bomb plant. So hopefully, come this next round, they can buy up those AK-47s and start to really show us what they're capable of. And they've only gone for the double AWP, and it doesn't surprise me on a map like Train with so many long-distance battles.
Yeah, let's see what it can do. Fnatic, of course, just sticking with 1 for now in the hands of JW. But on Dust 2, we saw the T-side double AWP set up in the hands of Alu and Forest, of course. Be utilised very, very well indeed, actually. It was quite an impressive sight. So let's see if they can continue on that form. But look at how aggressive Fnatic are being. Alu's caught them off guard, though, as he picks up 1, he picks up 2. Out goes Flusher and Crims there, and they've opened up this B bomb site, but the quick rotation will come in. And NiP have not fully committed yet. They've not taken the bomb onto that site as of right now.
They haven't, but Olofmeister is nearby, and he can smell the smell of ninjas. And they know he can. That's why they've fallen back now. Most likely heading straight down towards the ladder room and over towards this outer A bomb site. JW has spotted them, so unlike him to miss shots like that. Alu with the hat trick gets his 3rd as he dispatches of JW. And I really can't see NiP dropping this round. Surely this is the round that they can finally get themselves back on the scoreboard with after a bit of poor luck, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's all thanks to Alu again. Those opening 2 frags onto Crim and Flusher, I believe it was, who pushed aggressively up towards that B slope area, were absolutely perfect. He completely caught them off guard, and at close range with the AWP dealt the good damage to open things out. He also picked up the 3rd kill as well, which really put Fnatic out of any chance of getting that retake on towards this A bomb site. So there we go, 6-2 will be the scoreline. Olofmeister will take down Exist in the end. 5 players staying alive at the end of this round. Let's see if NiP can start to convert off this one, because if they manage to pick up another round here, it's going to be really interesting to see what the economy is going to be like for Fnatic.
For sure, Pronax still stuck on that FAMAS. Crims, Desert Eagle, Flusher, 5-7, Fnatic. They want to play NiP at their own game here. They want to force it up as well. They want to make sure that NiP can't make it 2 rounds in a row, but it's going to be so tough when... Oh no, JW actually dispatches of Get Right. I was going to say he's in a great position to use that P90 to its full advantages. Freiburg's going to be the ninja escorting alleyway. Meanwhile, Forest and Alu, with the AWP in their hands, trying to sniff out a frag, but JW, he's the man of the round so far. He's going to find his 2nd kill. And Ninjas in Pyjamas are slowly but surely starting to drop 1 by 1.
JW's just responding to Alu here. He's saying, whatever you can do, I can do better. After Alu's hat-trick in that last round, JW not allowing anything of that fashion to continue once again here, as he's already picked up 2 so far. The only 2 frags of this round. Ninjas in Pyjamas taking things very slow. Freiburg will spray down. Left alive on 19 points of health. He'll confirm the frag onto Pronax, and Flusher will fall as well, as Exist manages to pick up the kill to now even things into a 3 versus 3. Exist gets the second one here. These two players in Exist and Freiburg are very, very low indeed on the NiP side. They've got 30 seconds to play with, and it looks like they could be banging their way down towards Pop Dog, but Crims with the Pro 90 gun that Get Right uses and bought at the start of the round will actually deal damage to them as revenge. 3 kills in a row with a P90. Lovely work from him to close out the round.
And it paid off for Fnatic. Ninjas in Pyjamas, wouldn't be surprised to see them force up against their opponents again. And what do you think about this style of play?
It's a risky one, to be quite honest. Again,
but it's sensible.
It is indeed, and especially against a team like Fnatic, as we talked about, with that momentum factor and being on that more favoured side. You don't want them to start to run away from this one. I find it more questionable when you see CTs in a situation where they've got quite a few rounds, you know, in their stead, and decide to force up in silly situations when they really don't need to. But again, yes, it will be the force up here, and again, the frags are going in advantage of the Fnatic side, as we now, once again, find Exist and Forest, the last 2 left alive. They are going to be able to take down 1, but Exist finds himself in a 1 versus 3 situation. This should be an 8-2 scoreline, unless he can pull off something pretty miraculous, and he will not do so. 8-2.
Yeah, they tracked him down in the end, and NiP, it really hurts me to look over at the right side and see him as broke as they are, but that has really been the name of the map for them so far. They haven't really been given too many opportunities with actual weapons to be able to utilize, and Fnatic, this is the snowball factor that Thorin mentioned.
When it comes to crunch time, Fnatic rarely disappoint, and this final 5th map is certainly crunch time, as we've said many times. This single map decides the difference between at least $20,000 more. Flush is going to find the first one now to Alu. This is just an eco, but this is just target practice for him, surely. He picks up 3. Crims comes in to help out there, just denying the ace, unfortunately, and Get Right's just going to bunny up around on the A-bomb side. I'm pretty sure they've seen him here. Crims will dispatch of him there. So 9-2 is the scoreline. Real, consistent, good play here from Fnatic. They're just taking things so clinical. It's really great play from them, and Ninjas in Pyjamas are the ones with all of the effort to do now. They're the ones who've got to change up the game.
Yeah, interesting to see Flusher use the AWP as well over towards that B-bomb site, but early on when we said that each and every single one of these players on this Fnatic lineup are so versatile and can interchange their roles so well, that pretty much just hits the nail on the head there. And because obviously Olofmeister is normally their secondary AWP, but JW, look at this position, straight in towards ladder room, and he will reap the reward. See you later, Freiburg. He's going to now fall back and play this more passive with the rest of his teammates. They have gotten the man advantage. Meanwhile, NiP, they're just left pondering with regards to where they want to head.
And again, they just feel so confident with their B setup that they're just happy to leave Flusher solo there with that AWP, banking 4 players over towards A. Now JW will move over there, so that's both AWPs on the CT side over towards B at the second. But we talked about it earlier on, and I'll repeat the point again here. You can just easily rotate on this CT side. It's such a quick job to do, no matter where NiP may push. But I mean, looking at the setup for NiP, they're trying to scope something out and find some information, maybe find a head popping out at the wrong time to get an entry frag onto a site, but it's just not working out in their favor. Fnatic are playing this so patiently.
Forest spraying and praying here towards side alley. He knows Pronax is going to be nearby, but it's not going to matter because Get Right and Exist are going to get the double. Get Right looking for more. And the question is, can he find them? It's 3-on-3. Flusher with the AWP from Connector. Alu really needs to capitalize here, and he will not leave an Exist. A lone ranger all by himself with 7 seconds on the clock. I don't think he can pick up this bomb and plant it. And this round, Chewy is going straight to Fnatic.
They're going to try and take this rifle off him at the last second here, although he does manage to pick up 2 kills, and he does just about manage to survive with that AK-47, which could potentially be crucial in this situation. But just look at the economy. It really says it all about this game, let alone just looking at the top of the scoreboard where you can see that 10-2 scoreline there in favor of Fnatic. The best that NiP can hope for now on this T-side of train is 5 rounds. I saw them play, again, it was online and it was against a different opponent, but NiP, just after that 16-14 very close loss against Fnatic on Dust 2 just the other day online, they played TSM on Train, and they looked really lackluster on it. And I have to admit, so far, once again, NiP have been pretty lackluster on this map. In the meantime, though, Fnatic have just been on form.
I feel like they're getting picked off one by one. I feel like they should maybe try and stick together and try to execute a set piece onto either of these two bomb sites and try and overwhelm the CTs defending. But even when they tried doing it there in the blink of an eye, they get completely mowed down. 11-2. Are NiP going to do what Fnatic did on Inferno? It's again, it's like cobblestone again.
It is. It's gone back to that kind of attitude and energy in the game for me, I feel. It's just, it's died down quite a lot, but, you know, again, this is just credit to Fnatic's great play. Even after losing that map, after that great comeback, they come into this, and it's like it never happened to them. It's a new map. It's crunch time again, guys, and they pick up their game, and that just shows phenomenal resilience here from the Swedish side of Fnatic, that they can lose a map in that fashion after such a phenomenal comeback, to then completely forget about it and play so well here. But JW's pushed up aggressively. Let's see if he finds a frag. He won't do. Advantage NiP.
Yeah, Pronax looking to try and shut down the NiP players, but Alu comes in as he assassinates not one but two of these Fnatic boys. And maybe, just maybe, NiP can at least go into the second half with 11-4. And if they win their pistol and win the first gun round, then the rounds will pile up. But anything less than that, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think the worrying thing for me here really is we all know that Train is a CT favoured map, but I think on the whole, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think NiP have looked slightly better on their T side, in my opinion, at times in this series than on their CT side, especially with that comeback when they were on that CT side and 15-4 up. You know, it was pretty crazy. They switched to the T side, but still the amount of work that they did, you know.
Slice from Olaf Meister, getting in the faces of the Ninjas. Hat-trick from Olaf Meister. Nothing the NiP boys could really do there. And he's going to pick up an AWP as well. He has the Swedes completely surrounded. And now Exist. He's being attacked from all angles here.
And this is not the first time that we've seen him left alive in a 1 versus 3 situation. He will not be able to convert anything off that. A pretty lackluster half, I have to say. But you can just see the frag count there on that Fnatic side. All of them doing really great damage, and all of them contributing to that phenomenal 12-3 scoreline that they started off with. And I don't think we can underestimate it enough here how important it will be for NiP now on this CT side. And I got it wrong earlier on, so I'll call myself out on it and apologise. I actually think NiP even have been better on their CT side from what I've seen really overall in the grand scheme of things in this series. So this is the opportunity for them to come back into this game, but they are going to have to pull off almost a Fnatic-esque comeback if they want to pull themselves back into this series.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly difficult. I mean, essentially what we're saying is if NiP want to stand a chance of winning this map and winning this BO5 overall, they need 13 terrorist rounds on Train, which is a very, very steep hill to climb. But that last round, I think Olaf Meister did really well to creep into that new side main and surprise the Ninjas with that M4A4. And this pistol round is going to be massive for Ninjas in Pyjamas. But even, I'll tell you what, even if they do end up losing here on Train, I still think they'll be able to go home with their heads held high.
Yeah.
They proved a lot of people wrong.
Most certainly so. They've really given us an absolutely phenomenal thriller of a series, barring that couple game, and if this one's a blowout as well. But still, it's just been so back and forth with some really high intensity action, which is what we love. But I think the tricky thing for me here is, again, we know that Train is a CT favoured map, but to pick up 13 rounds when they're down this far and know that they have little room to play with, and against Fnatic is going to be a big one. That being said, though, that's the exact start that they wanted, with Forest taking down Olaf Meister to start proceedings.
Right, going aggressive. He may very well try and jump in towards ladder room, but Freiburg has company over here on the inner bomb site. Alu, his right-hand man, looking to help him out, but Pronax will plant the bomb. No casualties just yet. Get Right chimes in with a headshot of his own. Forest will get his second of the round, and now Pronax and JW with it all to do. JW is isolated in the upper area, trying to drop Get Right, and he will do, but he still has more CTs coming towards him. One from the right, one from the left, and he will finally get exterminated by Forest. And I said NiP had no choice but to win their pistol and capitalise on the next 2 rounds. This is their chance to capitalize.
Yeah, it was really important. And Fnatic being able to get that bomb down, of course, now means that they shouldn't force up here by the looks of things. Again, just a couple of P250s, in fact, 5 P250s coming in, a smoke and a flash as well. So looking to maybe once again get aggressive potentially and put the bomb down quickly to just advance their economy, but probably not really banking too much favor on actually winning this round so that they can then go into that early third round buy, or it will be round number 18 buy, of course, in this instant. Get right once again with the P90 in hand, still fragging with that, as that's his second kill of the round here. And this should hopefully be a clean 5-man sweep for the Ninjas.
And it will be 12-5. Meanwhile, Fnatic will buy up, thanks to planting on the pistol round, of course. And this is it. They've got the big Kalashnikovs out, the AKs are out, and I don't really need to tell you about the advantages the AK-47 has above the P90. In fact, the FAMAS and all the M4s, it's a one-shot headshot, and this is Fnatic's chance to see whether they can take advantage of this. I'd like to see a very aggressive defense played from Ninjas in Pyjamas. This is nice from Forest. Waste no time, push straight through Ali, figure out exactly where your opponents are. But he's got to be careful because Olofmeister is still lurking around and Forest will burn him alive. And the call will now be given in that, guys, there's no one at T-spawn, there's no one near side Ali. Focus on the other areas.
Most certainly so. Get Right's going to be one of those crucial players here. Playing quite far forward, going to flash his way through. Let's see if he decides to push this. It looks like he will, but he'll be caught off guard there. And gives the frag back in their favor. JW with a lovely headshot onto Forest there. Gives the man advantage now in favor of Fnatic. And this is all falling apart for NiP. They had the man advantage. They had the opening frag of the round. It's all going to be left up to Alu and Freiburg to save the day. The bomb will be planted, and we're back into a 2 versus 2.
I think Alu may have gone unnoticed, but he's definitely being heard now. He's definitely no longer unnoticed. He's a dead man. And Freiburg 2 cannot clutch. And finally, Fnatic will get their first terrorist round on the board. 13-5, 3 rounds away from winning this map and this best of 5. And you can't help but feel that NiP at the moment are just a ticking time bomb.
I have a feeling so. And this is the thing. When we saw that 15-4 scoreline on Inferno, although it was very, very unlikely in a lot of aspects, it still could have happened that Fnatic will have made the comeback. I really feel if we see this go to 15-5, or anything near that kind of a scoreline with Fnatic on match point, I personally, and I'll put it out there straight away, I don't think NiP have the resilience to be able to pull off a comeback of that form. And, you know, and again, technically, they are, I hate to say it, but they are technically playing 4v5 right now. We're into round number 19, and Freiburg has only picked up 2 frags.
Crims, casualty number 1 as Fnatic search to avenge their teammate's death, and they do so with what a frag on to Get Right. 4 versus 4. This does favor numerically Fnatic. It means the CTs can cover a lot less ground. And let's see what Pronax, the Swedish mastermind, has in store for the boys in orange. Exist, all eyes on side Ali. Meanwhile, the bomb is slowly starting to make its way towards the white halls, and it seems like Fnatic may very well decide to dedicate late on with 30 seconds to go straight towards this inner bomb site, and Freiburg has a big job on his hands.
He most certainly does do indeed as they make their push through. We saw them take it slow on the T side of Inferno, and at times it was almost too slow. Will it be a repeat here? They've got time to play with, but Forest is the one doing significant damage. That's the second kill in a row here. The bomb will be planted, but Forest gets his third. Absolutely phenomenal hat-trick from this man. And now Olofmeister finds himself the last one left alive. They're going to smoke off the bomb diffuser there, which will be Forest. Alu closes things out there, and that was a really nice round there from NiP. Forest, the saviour for the Ninjas.
Most certainly. It's nice to really see him back in form. Here he is again towards the top of the scoreboard. But you highlighted this earlier on. Freiburg isn't Freiburg.
And I hate to call it out. Like I know I say that a lot, but I really do not like calling out bad play. But in a best of 5, in a final map, where so much is on the line, to be heading into round number 20 with 2 frags is simply not good enough. No matter who you are and who you're playing against, it's not good enough.
Fnatic pegged back onto these pistols. JW, that CZ75 that has been so dominant with so far, but he is going to get headshotted by Alu. And I think Fnatic's best part, or best bet to try and brute force a bomb plant here maybe is to try and use Pronax's flashes as pop flashes and his smoke to try and cover off the connector towards the inner bomb site and just try to push through lower and force that bomb plant down. They're most likely going to lose the round, but hey, they'll get a bit of extra cash. Just got to look at the bright side.
Yeah. They've still got a lot of rounds to play with here. Let's not forget Fnatic only 3 rounds away from taking not only the map, but the entire series, of course, and advancing through to face up against the winner of Envious versus Virtus Pro, which will be the next match on stream. But Freiburg and Get Right cleaning things up finally. He's been able to double his kills there, as that will be 13-7. Ninjas in Pyjamas still fighting. They're hanging on by a thread here, Kyanite. They've still got a lot of work to do, though.
They do. And Fnatic are going to be looking to make sure that work gets 100% complete to book themselves a place in our grand final, which will be played tomorrow. It will be a best of 5. But here we go, Olaf Meister, as we saw earlier on, he's the Lone Ranger who continuously keeps dashing towards the side alley. Exists his main opponent in that area. Meanwhile, the rest of Fnatic, they're slowly walking through the white halls, and they could very well opt to pop flash straight through this smoke and try and overpower Freiburg, and overpower Freiburg is exactly what they managed to do. Or maybe not. Freiburg with the headshot, but Alu also rotated in, but he also got slaughtered on this inner B bomb site. Get Right wasting no time. He's not even going to bother waiting for his teammates. He too will get killed. And now Forest and Exist find themselves in one of the toughest situations they've been in so far on this map. Exist is just busy fighting it off towards that outer bomb site with Olaf Meister.
Yeah, and that's the real big trouble here. Even Forest picking up kills there over towards that B bomb site. It was pretty much impossible because Olaf Meister, who we know is just a phenomenal player, was just keeping Exist at bay. There was no way that Exist could push through that connector area, or maybe even go up through Pop Dog and try and go around the back of the Fnatic players towards that B bomb site, because Olaf was just lurking there, keeping him busy. They had tabs on where Forest was as well, so it was really, in all honesty, a matter of time before Fnatic secured the round. And that's exactly what they did. 14-7 the scoreline now, double the score of their Swedish counterparts. Fnatic 2 rounds away from claiming victory in this long best of 5.
Alu has made his way sprinting towards this electric box. He'll put the smoke down now towards the ladder room, and most likely his teammate will pop flash him straight in towards this side connector. He pushed in, but he didn't catch any glimpses of these Fnatic players, but I think they may have heard him.
Forest picks up the first frag, though. He's really been the standout player for me in this series for NiP, I have to say. If I did pick one, and he starts things off well, but Get Right will be fragged out here. Alu responds. It's back-for-back trades here on this map. Alu with the double here, and this is exactly what NiP needed. Pronax and JW find themselves the last 2 left alive, but let's not forget what damage these two can do. They can certainly pull off this situation here. Not if Forest has got anything to say about it, though. He tags JW down very, very low indeed, and even on 3 points of health, he's still able to pick up that final kill. And now it's all left in the hands of Pronax.
Pronax wants to fight on with 30 seconds to go. He's going to fake the bomb plant. Little does he realise that he's got a man to his left and a man to his right. Pronax will clutch! 3 from him! And he will secure match point for Fnatic. NiP.
Oh my, that's got to be... I think
what
that's
are you
mate.
doing?
I think that's it, mate. I honestly think that is it. Like, how that even just happened in that situation there. Left so low on health as well. For NiP to make such a crucial error like that. I don't know what's going on in their heads right now, but Fnatic on the verge of victory here. Look at how low the economy is. Forest is going to push through. It's a 1-for-1 trade here, but Fnatic are 4 frags away from the grand final of the Gfinity Champion of Champions tournament.
People talk about NiP magic. Whatever that magic is, they need it right now to survive. They've huffed and puffed, but I'm afraid it just hasn't been enough to see them emerge victors over Fnatic in this best of 5. But hey, it's not over just yet.
It's not. And let's not forget, you know, right back at the start of this series, which seems like years ago, it was about 4.5 hours ago or so, we saw NiP 15-13 down on an eco round, and they took it, and then, you know, went to overtime and looked good there. So again, you can't count these players out, but I really think that Pronax 1 versus 3 was potentially the last nail in the coffin. You will find out imminently, though.
Alu and co heading straight towards that coffin. Only time will tell. Freiburg wants to continue to fight on. He is the king of banana, and he's using that banana 5-7, but Crims is going to come in to assassinate him. And Olaf as well says, anything you can do, mate, I can do better. And now it's all down to the NiP in-game leader to do It's probably considered the impossible, and it definitely is impossible now. He's not able to do it. Fnatic, 5 maps is what it took for them to emerge victorious, but they've done it in the end. But still, credit where it's due to NiP. No one expected them to win more than Dust 2, and even Dust 2 was a bit meh.
Yeah, it was a bit meh. It was back and forth, but again, I think the crowd enjoyed that. We've got an absolutely packed audience here at EGX. There's literally not a single seat to spare, and there are people even queuing out the door. So if you are coming to EGX for any future series, of course, if you are watching at home at the second, make sure you get here early because there's plenty more Counter-Strike action to come. And this is the thing, this was the series which, in all honesty, I think a lot of people thought that was going to not be, that was going to be quite a, a relatively one-sided one. Now we've got Envious versus Virtus Pro coming up. That's going to potentially be an absolute thriller of a series if that wasn't beforehand. But still, credit to NiP. They did come in fighting, and they really brought it to Fnatic there. And it was a close, a best of 5. I think, again, as the analyst said, that Cobblestone game was one of the changes there for me, in all honesty. I said before Mirage started that if NiP were going to take this series, they needed Mirage. And if it was 16-13 the other way, they would have taken it.
I think a lot of us were surprised that NiP ended up taking Inferno.
Yeah,
Obviously, credit where it's due to Fnatic for mounting that comeback, but that BO5 pretty much sums up Counter-Strike. You know, you've got amazing moments, you've got tears, blood, sweat and tears shed.
It was mad.
The players in the booths, but you never know what's going to happen.
You've got stomps, you've got 2 overtimes, you've got a 15-4 comeback. You've got a team who are, in a lot of people's opinions, on the brink of completely disappearing, and splitting off in their separate ways. And let's not forget, this is an NiP roster who, although they aren't a champion of a Gfinity event, they've certainly been champions of many other events. And now Alu, of course, with that 5th player. It was a heck of a good series. My voice, as you can probably tell, is completely ruined. I think I need to go and lie down in a darkened room for a few minutes. But any final words, Kyanite?
Well, I want you to pick a man of the match. I think it's so difficult to do so over those 5 maps. But if you were just going to pick
Flusher.
Flusher?
I'm not even going to let you finish the sentence. It just came to me. I mean, I know it's not just about frag count, as I keep saying time and time again, but still, he just came big when they really needed him to, and he stepped up at the right times, and he controlled things single-handedly at times as well. So Flusher was the standout man for me there. It's not really surprising, but again, all of them at times played their individual parts. When Olaf Meister was really, really quiet on that first side of Inferno, there were still other players, doing their part and everything. And that's what Fnatic can do. Anyway, guys, I think we've got an interview coming up with Olaf Meister, if I am not mistaken. So, Banks, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chewy. I am joined by Olaf Meister. What a fantastic game we saw then. Another reason why best of 5 is the way to go. Can we have one more round of applause, please, guys? Now, Olaf Meister, first game, went all 5 maps. Most people didn't expect it. What was the thoughts from the Fnatic camp?
Well, we always play really even with NiP. We have done it ever since I joined. But it was a hard game. We lost 2 maps on overtime. And we won in the end, so I'm happy.
Now, looking at this tournament, best of 5s, everyone's talking about the format. Seems to have worked pretty well so far. Everyone's enjoying it. Good bit of action straight away. Out of the 2 teams you could possibly face next, who would you like to face?
Well, I always want to beat Pasha, so Virtus Pro for me.
The rivalry between you and VP. Well, we will find out what's next going to be happening between them 2. And the last question I'm going to have for you is, what went wrong in the overtimes for you guys?
I don't know. I think overtime is always 50-50, and they won it this time, both times. So, well, next time it's our turn.
Well, let's see if you guys can handle the pressure next time it comes to the overtimes. But we're going to head it back to Lycan and the guys on the analyst desk.
Hey, excellent. Thank you, Banks. Guys, all right, that's the end of the series.
Yeah.
Fnatic takes it 3-2. Thorin, what did you think of the series? What did you think of the last round?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the maps were so exciting, but I think if that guy from The Simpsons was here, he'd be like, worst final map ever. It's like just nothing, was it? Unfortunately, the hype really was killed there because Fnatic's CT side was just way too good, and they didn't really give enough of a window to NiP that they were really ever going to come back into that. That's the problem with Train being the last map there. It's like, yeah, you felt like because neither team have played it that much, it would be a bit more open, but as a result, neither team was super strong either. So once Fnatic got the early strength there, I felt like the lead was going to be insurmountable.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, let's be real. That Pronax 1v3 to force NiP into an eco, that shouldn't happen.
No, that definitely not.
That definitely shouldn't happen. So NiP can feel disappointed by that, but that's also heroics from somebody that you, again, and this is what Fnatic do. This is like heroics from a player that the prescribed wisdom is, if Pronax is the last alive, Fnatic are going to lose the round. And he came up clutch, and there was just so many good moments on that. I thought it was going to be a lot closer, a lot more competitive. But just before we get into the bones of it and sort of pick it apart on an analysis kind of level, I do want to say that is probably the last time that we're going to, see Fnatic in, NiP in its current form. That core four that have been together for so long. I think we can safely say they're not going to play again together. And I think, they've been a great team. They really set the bar to begin with for all professional teams. They created the aspirational element in the scene. It's ultimately a sad day, that they're going to be breaking apart. And I'm sure all the, true fans of Counter-Strike all wish them well wherever they end up. Even you.
Yep. I mean, obviously, they had a great run. Even in this series, they gave us some thrills overall. Yep. But when you really look at all the maps, if you look at the series in totality, realistically, you can see that Fnatic was always leading the whole way because it was on NiP's maps that they would always be either winning or it was incredibly close.
Yeah.
NiP could only make one of the Fnatic maps very close, and then Cobblestone and Train, they were just completely out of bounds. And you saw, like I said at the beginning of the series, the big problem here is the map pool for NiP.
Yeah, depth.
It's not even just about specific maps. It's like they can't match up over a full 5. In a best of 3, hey, obviously it would have been possible there to make that really competitive, but there's nothing you can do in a best of 5. You really, if the better team is nearly always going to win.
I mean, there was some great individual moments, from both sets of players as well, throughout the tournament. But, you're right. You can see why Fnatic are the best team in the world, why they're a cut above. They always seem to have that just extra little bit of oomph when they needed it. They were able to just take it to that next level. And, it's really tough out there. But the fact that NiP went and took 2 maps from Fnatic in a best of 5, that's unprecedented. They've not done that to this Fnatic lineup before. In many ways, they're still going out on a high, in my opinion.
Yeah, so if you look at the hype that came around this, it was more because NiP just decided to show up today and we saw some great games from them. We didn't expect them to, the eyes were on them. Everyone expected them to go down pretty hard. They didn't go down as hard as we thought they would. Does that speak for NiP or does it speak against Fnatic as they move into the finals?
Look, there's no doubt that you've got to give credit to NiP there. I mean, Fnatic, if they were up on this stage now, they'll tell you that was a hard-fought game. It's always going to be that way. The Swedish scene's very intimately acquainted with everybody. They've all played in teams with each other. They all know each other's games inside out. They're usually, close games, even though Fnatic have obviously had the better of it. So I think Fnatic have done what they needed to do. They beat a very strong opponent in the form of NiP. And NiP were literally just playing with nothing to lose here. They come here, they're not a champion like everyone else in the lineup. Nobody expects them to be in the final. Nobody expects them to win a best of 5 against the best team in the world. Well, they took 2 maps. So I don't think it's to any anyone's credit except NiP's. I don't want to take away anything from Fnatic. They've overcome a strong opponent. That's what champions do. So,
yeah, the thing is in Counter-Strike especially, I always say between really good teams, it resets even between maps.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if you get smashed on a map, you can come back if you're really good on the next map. It'll be totally different between series, especially and between days. So as a result, you can't look at this one and go, oh well, Fnatic, seemed like at times they weren't on all cylinders. They weren't like the best team in the world on certain maps. It was competitive. Tomorrow, hey, listen, they might turn up and be terrible, or they might turn up and be even better than they were today in Imperius. So I think it's very much it's not going to be a form guide this series. All that matters here is they won the series. They did what they needed to. They got to the end of the map, and they won the series overall. So yeah, I feel like ultimately this isn't necessarily going to play into tomorrow. And what's good now about the result of this series is now the name of the tournament is certain to be true. It's going to be the champion of champions.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one quick point, because I know we talked about it a little bit from a narrative perspective. I don't want to keep harping on about it, but again, I always think it's remiss if you don't talk about things that are pretty much the elephant in the room. We talked a lot about, Freiburg is the one kind of player that's coming out of this NiP organization that doesn't look to be having a lot of opportunities laid out for him. Doesn't look like maybe he's going to be joining another team anytime soon. Certainly hasn't been talked about or linked with any of the big organizations characterizations in the way that other players have. And I felt he really needed to put on a strong performance here, and we didn't get that from him. I mean, in train, he was woefully absent.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he had like 2 kills in the first half, I think.
yeah, and you know, again, we talk about his role as an entry fragger. I don't even know if at this point it's something you need to revise, or it could just be the environment he's in. Maybe he needs a restart as well as everyone else in NiP. Maybe he needs to be playing with other players. Maybe an in-game leader that can utilize his talents better. Because right now, that's as abysmal as I've seen Freiburg play. And I know Adam very well. I've known him many, many years, and I'm going back to CSS. That on his day, he's a great player, seriously. But he hasn't been for some time now, and I think he really needed a performance to sort of take that confidence into whatever he's going to do next in the post-NiP era. So really disappointed for him, and it was a big factor in NiP not being able to overcome Fnatic, because you need firepower against a team that has fraggers across the board.
Right. When you talk about the games, let's look at the ones that were really close between NiP and Fnatic. Do you think that they underutilized the available timeouts to them? Do you think that maybe for Freiburg's sake they could have called a timeout, kind of just shaking each other up for a second?
I definitely think so. I think NiP, again, Fnatic are quite cognizant of when we need to use a timeout. They use them better than almost any team out there. I think NiP, again, there was times like on Inferno, for example, where you were like, maybe you should call a timeout here. You get the game slipping away from you. Like when it was heading towards overtime and you were losing all that all those T rounds, I'd have called a timeout there if I was the in-game leader.
Well,
sometimes it can help.
Here's the interesting thing, is that when the major happened and Fnatic made literally like a pattern out of calling timeouts, fixing things somehow, and then going on to these crazy runs, everyone initially, and I was caught up in this, thought, wow, Pronax just must be so on the ball. He's reading like the temperature of the game. And actually what's interesting is it's the coach of Fnatic, Vugo, who said, actually, I call the timeouts. Like, I'll tell the guys, like, I can see that you're too into the game. He's thinking, because even players like Pronax, they're just thinking next round, what am I doing next round? Yeah. Well, NiP don't have a coach, and you see NiP almost never take timeouts. They don't do it at all. Now, in their case, I don't know how much it would actually change things. Like, they play such a formulaic style, it's not really like they're going to figure something out, especially within the team. And even the idea is, in Fnatic, they don't necessarily come up with a tactical change. It's more like they reset emotionally. They're like, listen, you're playing like too aggressive at the moment. Just calm down, like trust in the system, it'll work, etc. I mean, at NiP, that's kind of the biggest flaw that everyone's been saying they've had for the last 6 months or so, is the idea that mentally it's gone. Yeah. If things start to go wrong, there's nothing can bring them back together. So in their case, hey, who knows? Maybe it wouldn't even do anything. I'm not sure in their case it's that big of an issue.
I say it every time when we talk about teams. The difference between confidence and arrogance is measured in your successes. And when it gets to the stage where
I keep trying to tell people. I'm killing it now.
It's true, mate. It's true. And when you get to a stage where it's like, we don't want to change, we don't want to do things differently, we want to do it this way, we're not going to utilize timeouts, we're going to pick into opponents' maps, and all of these other little sort of idiosyncrasies of the NiP way of doing things. That's great if you're winning tournaments, right? It's that, but when you're not, and you're actually not going as deep into tournaments as your fans want you to, as people believe you can, as your pedigree suggests you will, then you really have to change something up. I mean, I think it must be incredibly frustrating for NiP fans to see them do this time and time again. But I got to say, I almost admire it. Just like the sheer brashy nature of just not, we're never going to change. This is how it's always going to be. This is why that particular lineup, I don't think they could ever attain success again. I think they do need to have this big shake-up that I'm pretty sure is coming. So,
yeah, the sad thing I think about NiP is that kind of mindset, when it was the Makalele lineup, or it was early on, those first 1 or 2 months when they had Alu, it meant that you got some of the most crazy series, because then when they would have an incredible performance, and it was on the maps that both teams liked, we're going to get all-time great series, because you have people just pushing each other to the highest level. The problem is, it reminds me of when Envious started to fall off before they made the roster change, because they have this really heavy force spy style, which again is counterintuitive. It's not the way you're supposed to play the game, the efficient way. It means when things are going badly, you will snowball the opponent's win. He starts beating you, and you're going to force spy, and you're going to destroy your own win ratio, basically, the differential. Likewise, NiP being so stubborn, when things started to go badly, that's when you saw them starting to just get thrashed on certain maps as well. Before, okay, they could lose, but it would be like 16-12, 16-13. Instead, you ended up with maps like in this series where you got the cobblestones and the trains where they're not even in the map. And at that point in time, it actually just gets a bit sad at that point. You just want something to change for their sake, because even if they're not going to be a championship team again, no one can know whether that will happen. You want it to be competitive at least. You want to know going into a series, right? You've got to really watch out for NiP on this map, or if you're not really on point on this CT side over here, it's going to cost you the game. No one knows that against NiP at the moment. No one knows which maps they win, which halves they'll turn up on. They don't themselves, and that's really an indictment of where they've come to as a team. They're not even the team they were 5 months ago, 6 months ago. They're a team that at this point, listen, we've got to be real. Take the names off the scoreboard. They're like a 7th or 8th level team. They really are. Like, they're in tier 2 now.
Yeah. I mean, they've exhausted all possibilities as well. This is the key thing here. Like, it's not like NiP.
Like the guy who's the observer is just looking through Reddit comments, right? And he just came to a Reddit comment, which I got to say, I've got to give you props whoever put this. The Reddit comment said, Freiburg has transitioned from entry fragger to entry frag.
Anyway, they've exhausted.
10 out of 10.
Thorin rates, great bait, mate. Anyway, so they've exhausted all the possibilities. They tried to swap, in-game leaders around. They tried to swap tactics and kind of roles around. They've tried everything, and nothing's worked. When you get to that stage, the only option is we gotta break up. We gotta force roster changes. And I think they put it off as admirably for as long as they could. But here we are, and it's a shame. It's a shame because the last few tournament performances, we're already talking about you beating, you take maps off Fnatic, you're beating Envious, you're taking maps off TSM, online, individually in best of ones, you're showing you're capable of beating anyone. But ultimately, it's all about trophies in the cabinet, and they haven't really looked like getting one of those for the longest period of time. So
let's talk about MVPs for each team. I think that coming out of NiP was definitely Alu. We talked about in the first game, he was kind of choking some shots, but later on in the other series, he was really him clutching in a lot of cases. What are your thoughts on just overall NiP, I guess?
It's a tough one. Like, standout players for NiP's Alu, but I got to say, like, Forest was God mode on the first map, especially. But I think he put in a great, consistent performance across the series as well. I mean, there were rounds that Alu kind of lost single-handedly, but then there were rounds that he won single-handedly. It's very hard. I mean, I maybe might give it to Forest just in terms of consistency overall, but it's definitely a toss-up between those two. In terms of Fnatic, I mean, Olaf, mate, it's so ridiculous because he had such a bad half on Inferno, but like I say, great players just bounce back, and he was doing so much in terms of just taking up different roles, right? What do we need here? I reckon if we pick up an AWP, this is going to get us across the line. Do we need entry fraggers? Okay, I'll go first. Watch me, get behind me. This is a player that consistently puts a great team of great professionals on his back. So it's always really, really hard to look past him, whatever the statistics say. He just had so many important moments.
Yeah, I'll take Olaf Meister as well, because actually on the last 2 maps, he was really spectacular. Even on the map they lost, he was basically the reason they had a chance to even win that. Remember, there actually should have been one map in this series which NiP got to stomp, which was the Inferno game. They were up 15-4. That should have been it. They should have closed it out at some point in the next 4 or 5 rounds. But what happened was, in the 11-round comeback to get to overtime, I saw the stat online. Olaf Meister had 19 kills in that period of time. Yeah. He just basically just went wherever he wanted on the map, wherever he thought they would be. He read the game. He had an AWP, he had a rifle, whatever he needed to do, winning clutch rounds. I mean, considering they lost the map, it was an absolutely ridiculous performance. They just carried it over to train, and on training he was doing the same thing. CT side, he was just picking up kills all over the place.
And just to make it look like we're not completely all about Olaf Meister, because I got to say as well, Flusher, he kind of, sometimes he flies under the radar when you're watching the games, because the kind of kills he makes, they're not necessarily spectacular. But this is a guy who always does his job. You come at a site, he's going to kill at least one of you, usually 2. He's very, very consistent. He's good in clutch situations, knows how to utilize terrain to buy time for his team. So again, you're talking about Olaf Meister or Flusher, I think, for MVP. I think Olaf Meister had the more important kills, and certainly, he clutched rounds like we saw when it was a 1v2 on Inferno, and that makes a huge difference, taking it to overtime. But obviously Flusher as well, just for his sheer volume of kills. I think he had the most overall.
The thing is, though, even though Fnatic won the series and it was a full best of 5, I don't even feel like there was one guy who definitely was like it wasn't like, for example, Olaf Meister had maps, so he just took him off. Like in the first 3, he had a couple where he was just chilling. He was like bottom of the scoreboard on the first game, for example, on Dust 2. he wasn't even that great himself the whole series. Okay, he was towards the end because we played 5 whole maps. I think that just kind of shows where Fnatic is. Like, when you asked before, like, why am I so sure Fnatic's going to win? You could look at this series now and go, right, well, Fnatic struggled and they hadn't got the 5 maps against NiP. I mean, how are they going to win from this point? That's the whole point. Fnatic doesn't even have to be playing well, but they just know how to win the game. They have the gamesmanship element where they know, like, what exact round you have to be really good at. You can give up some of the other ones because that'll turn the whole game. And so in a series where they had times where they weren't even looking that great, they still managed to win the series anyway, win a best of 5, and now they're going on to the final.
Yep. All right, well, thank you guys. That wraps up the first series, which is Fnatic versus NiP. Fnatic taking it 3-2. We'll be back after a short 10-minute break with more Gfinity Champion of Champions here at EGX 2015. We'll see you soon.
Check this out.